Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Sunday Conversation here on Big Country Politics. Our special guest this week is Tim Smith, an Abilene entrepreneur, real estate developer, real estate mogul. Maybe?
I don't know about that.
I think it's safe to say that. Overall, very excited to have you on the program. I think this is really kind of the first time that we've had an opportunity to chat. Also excited that you've connected with a very good friend of mine down in San Angelo, Tim Condon, owner of the Angry Cactus restaurant. Looks like he's on his way to bringing his West Texas, his San Angelo, Concho Valley flair to the Key City, to the Soda District with another Angry Cactus restaurant. So glad that you guys were able to make the connection. Back in on December 19th, right before the clock turned 2025, and, you made some public comment there at the city council meeting regarding the amendment to create development standards for a Type 3 off-site advertising sign. This was kind of a big thing at the time. This ended up being approved in on the January 9th city council meeting. Before we get into the whole logistics about that, tell me about this Type 3 sign. What does that mean?
So my 3 digital screens are 6 foot, 6 foot by 8 foot. So they're not huge. They aren't freestanding like the large billboards, and all those were kind of lumped together in one category. The differentiating piece being that these are, on the face of a building or side of a building. They don't take up any real estate. They're much, much smaller. That's kind of the distinction between that and the large freestanding billboards.
So prior to this amendment, you weren't allowed to have those freestanding signs, correct? Or how did that work out?
So I pulled permits several years ago for 2 of these digital screens in South Downtown. I have one on South 2nd at our wedding venue / Airbnb, and it's been there for 2-3 years. And then we have one on the front of what used to be Sauk Gallagher Brewing Company. It's still there. We've had the building vacant because we're working through the logistics of the upcoming Angry Cactus project that'll happen there. So I will need to move that one. I bought a 3rd screen, put it on the side of Bernard's Refinishing in North Downtown Abilene, across from the Doubletree parking lot. And that's when we had an issue. A fellow downtown stakeholder's son went to code compliance, showed them a code they didn't even know they had that stated there can be no off-premise advertising in central business zoning. And here we go. So I wanted the ordinance to be adjusted and changed. That didn't happen. Instead, I got that one screen kicked out of downtown Abilene.
Now, the beef was that, it was, you had the feeling that pretty much our local government was trying to regulate things a little bit more. The city council came back and said, the government shouldn't regulate any content of local businesses, not in the business of regulating content with the exception of obscenity and what have you with that. You had a comment in there, and your quote was, "There's some ugly downtown politics that need to go away. Nobody should have to go kiss the ring." You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. And you were speaking directly to the city council. Put some words to that. Put some context.
Very few people are going to look at that elephant in the room. I'm willing to go there. Again, when certain groups or people start pulling strings behind the curtain, I have an issue. Especially when it deals with small business local advertising. Certain groups and people need to stay in their lane. Let small business do what it does. And we should have every right to cross-promote our local small businesses. It's very inexpensive advertising too. I was doing it because I'm an advocate for progress in downtown, and I want to support our local businesses. That screen in North Downtown was doing absolutely no harm. I wanted to promote upcoming Paramount shows and, have a video clip of a nice juicy steak from Beehive and, appeal to the guests that are staying in our city. And it got turned into an ugly thing. And literally my sign was kicked out of North Downtown Abilene.
Well, now the amendment, it allows pretty much for the south end of downtown, it accommodates south downtown businesses for that. But it's still kind of leaving out the north area of downtown.
Sure.
Would you like to see that be incorporated into this particular ordinance?
Yes, and I thanked council for approving that change, but I emailed them afterwards and I said, hey, I would like for you to proactively make this ordinance consistent now, because as is, now I can legally do it in South Downtown Abilene like I've been doing for years. But you still can't have off-premise advertising in North Downtown. So our city local government is still regulating content.
So with all that said, what's your next move as you move forward with all this?
In my email to council, again, I thank them. I love our council. I think they do a great job. I don't blame people. It's the circumstances and the situation that I want to change. I want things to be consistent. I want any disagreement or disapproval of certain things to be done in open forum, not behind the scenes, not pulling strings, not using connections to prevent things, especially when it has to do with small business advertising. This should not have been a big issue.
And you said there was a meeting of downtown North.
There was a stakeholders meeting, which of course I was not invited to, but found out about and went. And that's when I knew, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to keep that sign in North Downtown Abilene. Again, and many of the people in that room are my direct competitors with one business or another. But I'm a stakeholder in downtown Abilene, so I should have at least been invited to that meeting.
Do you think there's an uphill battle with all this, or?
I don't. Now that the ordinance has been changed, I think it proves my point. I mean, what is the reason that it's not allowed in North Downtown Abilene, but it is in the South Downtown Abilene? Interesting. And that reason is dirty politics.
All right, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more with Tim Smith, Abilene entrepreneur, Abilene real estate developer, as we discuss the homelessness issue in downtown Abilene and how it's impacting businesses in the downtown area of the Key City. That and more right here on Big Country Politics.
Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, welcome back to our Sunday conversation here on Big Country Politics. This week our special guest is Abilene entrepreneur, Abilene real estate developer, Abilene real estate mogul. I know you won't say it, but I will. Nonetheless, you're very vocal. And I think as someone of a real estate developer, you have that opportunity because you bring business to Abilene, and somebody has to listen to you because you are certainly doing that. Back on January 3rd, you had a Facebook post, that was really it was interesting, and it was regarding the theft of TVs from the back patio of the Peacock patio.
Sure.
You pointed out that it was a theft. Coming from a homeless man there in North Abilene. This generated almost close to 100 comments, 27 shares. I know that may not sound like a whole lot, but that's still. But just the thread on that alone, people were very fired up about that. Tell me.
Sure. Yeah, and that post surprised me a bit at the heated discussion.
Definitely.
But it makes the point that there is a homeless problem.
It brings us to the conversation here.
Sure.
Do you and we've done a story on this as to how people, they do feel that there is a homeless issue here in the city of Abilene. Certainly when it comes to downtown Abilene, because there's a lot of area, a lot of landscape there. How has your business been impacted by the homelessness?
Well, again, just that instance, and that wasn't directly my business. We partner with a food truck, Matera Grill, young couple trying to make a living. And so it's offensive when somebody comes onto your property and then does that to a small business owner who's trying to make a living. And these people that are homeless tend to do that often. And they arrested this man yesterday, I believe. And the rap sheet, somebody posted on that thread, his rap sheet's a mile long of similar instances. And so I think I just said at the end of that post, after I posted the picture of the guy trying to find out who it was, I said, we've got to address this. We need to start discussions on this homeless problem. And it is a problem. You know, we, Pam and I, my wife, lived in the Soda District, and we'd walk under the bridge of North and South First and frequent downtown all the time. And there were instances where we were threatened just for walking by. And I mean, cussed out and encountered aggressive people. And I can tell you other stories of other people that have had similar situations. Business owners finding feces on their front steps, all kinds of things.
Well, I know we can talk about, you know, the issue at hand and how bad it is and how other businesses might say. The fact of the matter is, perhaps maybe being proactive about it and helping some of these people. Have those discussions, have those begun amongst the downtown businesses?
Well, and the part of the problem is this, is if you even bring it up as a problem, you're demonized for bringing it up. If you get what I mean. I mean, first comment on my post was, how do you know he was homeless?
Yes.
Well, I did happen to know that he was homeless, you know? But then I have to defend my comment. I'm being judged for saying that he's homeless.
Right.
You know, and I support our nonprofits. I support the ministries that help homeless people, 100%. It's where they do it that I have the issue with. And I do have ideas.
Well, let's hear them.
So I would like to see a campus where all of our homeless ministries are in one location. They can continue to do their individual assistance for this group of people that they help and minister to, individually or collectively. But it needs to be on one campus in a location with the least negative impact for our community. As is, you have organizations all over, and I'll just bring up one, Salvation Army. You can't tell me there's not a direct correlation with the demise of what I'll call the friendly mile as a result of the Salvation Army being there for years and years and years. I've seen it. I've watched it. I owned a building on Butternut. I sold it because I was like, yeah, this isn't good. Needles every day in the back alley. The homeless population stays where they're going to get their resources.
Sure.
And so it's a problem.
Well, overall, if this isn't addressed sooner than later, what does downtown Abilene look like if it certainly is not addressed?
You know, you have two things. You're wanting to promote walkability and you're wanting to promote a vibrant downtown atmosphere. Well, you can't do that if it's unsafe or if people feel threatened or, you know, and I've seen instances where they'll walk up to someone's window or heard stories where they'll walk up to a lady, you know, knocking on their car door. You know, they scare people. Homeless people tend to be desperate people. Thus the crime, thus the theft, thus the, you know, and there's all sorts of issues with that, mental illness, drug use. But the bottom line is that homelessness causes desperation, and desperation causes them to wreak havoc on the community around them. And I feel like the solution is one area where everybody's working together on a campus. That has the least negative impact for the entire community. Right now, we have pockets that are very negatively affected, not just downtown. You know, go over to the creek on South 7th and, you know, North and South First because of some of the ministries that are located right there. That's the problem.